What's up, everybody? It's your boy Getting the Game. Welcome to another video of Police Simulator Patrol Officers. Today, I have some very exciting news to share. It was announced to us today that gun usage will be coming to Police Simulator next month, and it will roll out with the next big update, which is Update 19.0, which is scheduled for September. Now, just keep in mind, as in the past, with these timelines, there are chances that um, the update can get pushed back or delayed. Now, let's talk about this. Let's talk about gun usage because this is something that, as a community, we all been asking for. Now, just keep in mind, currently in the game, we have pretty much two scenarios where we can actually point and aim our gun, and that's one for fleeing suspects, and two for individuals who have committed a car theft. We could point our gun at them to get them to surrender. So with this new update coming our way, we're gonna be it's gonna get even more intense, where we're gonna be able to actually shoot um, suspects if we have to. It's pretty much type of a last resort option, and at the same time, it's going to be scenario based. So let me explain. I'm gonna leave a link in the description so you guys can read over the notes for yourselves. I'm not going to go over everything in particular, but I'm going to touch bases on this new system of gun usage that is coming our way. So it says with update 19.0, a new level of danger arrives that actually requires the use of your gun, turning it into an useful tool inside your arsenal. You're even allowed to shoot it. The use of your handgun comes into play once all other forms of the de-escalation have been exhausted. Let's explain. So right there, it's saying that there's going to be we may be put in a scenario where we're going to have to de-escalate, and until we come to that resort where we have to use the gun. So that's pretty cool. I really appreciate how developers are really making this realistic and not making it just a shootout game where we just use our gun all the time. Okay, as it further explains, it says when you approach a criminal, their level of danger is constantly influenced by a randomizer. This may cause some citizens to flee, carry an illegal weapon in their inventory, or trigger other variables. Now, every criminal has a chance to be spawned with an extraordinary high level of criminal activity, leading to a handgun in their inventory and them turning into an armed criminal. All right, so again, it seems like when we're going to be dealing with suspects, it's going to it's going to be it. We have to approach it because even if they may be armed, it seems like the NPC, the suspect, it just depends on how they respond, especially if they're considered a high uh, a high level danger. So not all suspects are going to be carrying a gun. Not all suspects um, are going to use a gun if they have one. But then you're going to run into suspects who uh, may have a gun and decide to draw it on you. So let's continue to read. It says this can happen at any point where a criminal NPC would usually decide to flee. Okay, so this is stemming from our fleeing scenarios. It says if the randomizer determines that they are at a high criminal level, they may draw their weapon. Otherwise, they simply start fleeing. So I guess, okay, so when we're dealing with suspects, it seems like they're going to either flee or draw that weapon. So it's going to be random. And it says this means a car thief, a drug dealer, even a wanted suspect can turn into someone drawing a handgun, which will require you to draw your own weapon in return. But they may also just flee, which only requires lighter measures instead. So again, it seems like we're gonna have to use that intuition when dealing with suspects now, which is pretty cool. That they may draw their weapon, but we may be in a situation where we still may have to de-escalate the situation. It says when an armed criminal draws a weapon, you will be notified by the game. An immediate action must be taken. The NPC will be marked with an outline indicating their current level of threat. So I'm assuming that when they draw a weapon, it doesn't necessarily. In real life, if an individual draws out a weapon at an officer, that gives them enough to, that's a threat in itself, and it gives them grounds to shoot. But it seems like there may be maybe a little different here. So let's keep reading. It says a yellow outline. Okay, yellow outline indicates that you're aiming at an armed criminal who has drawn their gun. You will now demand them to surrender. If they comply, they will drop their weapon, lie down, and you can handcuff them. If you are not, if not, you are not yet allowed to shoot. So even if they draw their weapon, it's saying if they have that yellow outline indicating that they're and they're not shooting, that we still have to use de-escalation, and we're not authorized to shoot. It says doing so will not end the shift, but will cause the loss of CP. So yeah, again, if you're dealing with a suspect, they're aiming their gun at you, and you're demanding them to surrender, and they comply, they drop their weapon, lie down, handcuff. You're not authorized to shoot because, of course, they're going to comply. They're going to surrender. It says it could take some time for an NPC to surrender as they might verbally resist. So I'm assuming they may have their weapon out and verbally resist your commands, um, but you want to come to a point where you get them to surrender. So again, that's the yellow outline. Now, if you get a red, if you're dealing with a criminal with a red outline, it says the armed criminal. If the armed criminal refuses to surrender and he or she is now an active threat, you are now allowed to shoot. The criminal has a chance to shoot at the player, but doesn't have to. At every shot you take, they may even turn. They may either turn into an injured NPC or drop their weapon and surrender. If the armed criminal is injured, first aid must be administered, as in real life, which is pretty cool, and an ambulance must be called for further proceeding. So again, now if you're dealing with a higher level suspect, he or she is going to be outlined in red, and that's going to give us the green light. That's going to give us the go. Now we could use our firearm and shoot at that criminal to hit him to he or she to comply. So this is really cool. It seems like they have a nice system set up, and it's going to be scenario based, which is pretty cool. It's not just us going into a situation and we're just firing at a suspect. So I like how they implemented that. It says, as described, you can also be shot by the armed criminal. After a maximum of 3 hits, you will become critically injured, and your shift will automatically end as you need to recover. Act fast and decisively to protect yourself and everyone else. So, all right, so it says it there. Suspects will shoot at us, and if we get shot 3 times, that's pretty much ending the shift for us. So you gotta. It seems like they strategically implemented this um, scenario of gun uses so that we're not just firing. We're trying to use the escalation techniques, but if it intensifies, then we're drawing that gun and doing what we have to do to stop the threat, and again administering first aid, which is pretty cool. Like, so they really grasp the realism um given this scenario. All right, so let's see what else. Okay, so let's just so that pretty much concludes um how the explanation, how that shoot the gun usage and how that's going to work. Again, I'm going to leave a link in the description so you can read this for yourself. I didn't want to read everything line for line, word for word, because it's just so much to read. Um, but it makes an emphasis at in regards to the change of timeline. It says, as mentioned previously, the next update will be update with version 19.0 will now be fully focused on gun usage. This, of course, means a change in the previous communicated development timeline. The mission update was originally intended to be released next month, which is September, with update 19.0. But now the mission update will is scheduled to take part in October, which with update 20.0. All details of the new missions will be released later. Um, and it says we intend to release the gun usage update in September. You can expect to try out the feature as part of our usual open beta beforehand, which is pretty cool. Please expect the open beta to be launched in early September. So they will have open beta for testing, so we could test this out earlier. But that's all the notes, guys. That's all I have for you. But this is very big. It's something as a community we all been asking for. Again, the developers did not want to take an approach where we're just in shootouts and just firing at people at will. They wanted to make it real. So, and I believe they put a lot of thought and time into it. So, with this said, we can expect new callouts. Again, as I just mentioned, new mission update will come in October. So we're gonna have on top of perhaps new callouts, we're gonna be have missions now, which will help with the game, make it more exciting, make it um, something to look forward to. I always been asking, let's get missions. So that's a good thing. So I'm excited for this. I believe this is just a big step for the company in itself. They're doing a wonderful job, and I'm looking forward to definitely what's down the line in the future. That's going to get better. Also, there is a rumor going on saying that we may also get new uniforms with this next update as well, which is pretty cool. So again, guys, I know I mentioned this, but just want to remind you, I will leave a link in the description so you can read this for yourself. But I am excited. Um, we're just getting one step closer to where we would like this game to be, and it's gotten better. But yeah, this is going to be scenario based. So now when we're dealing with suspects, we have to take caution because they may be armed, and now we have to act accordingly. Especially if they're fleeing. With the randomizer, they may decide to flee, or they may decide to draw their weapon, and even at that, we may have to de-escalate a little bit. There's gonna have it's gonna be pretty much a yellow zone and a red zone. That yellow zone is that de-escalation phase, even if they have the weapon drawn out on us. But the red zone is pretty much that hot phase where we're firing our gun and rendering aid once we get them to surrender or get them down to stop the threat. So really good news. I'm excited for this. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. And also let me know what you think in the comments of this update coming our way. Anyway, guys, it's your boy Getting a Game. Thank you guys for watching. Big shout out to my supporters as always. And if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. And I will catch you all on the next stream or video.